Hello. Once again, I come before you as a representative of the Illuminati. You may call me the man. Not yet. The man. Yeah, so I can hear you. I know, and this is way like a pattern, you go so long and you hear it. You hear the messages. Hey, the man, where you been? What's going on? The world's just kind of like crazy. And what? How? Yeah, I know. And I have good reasons. I really do. I've got really good reasons. I mean, we're going to cover a lot of stuff that happened in a very short amount of time. And so this might be a little long. So just kind of bear with me. Okay. I know that the whole theme of the video, if you've read the title, is what happened January 6th in the Capitol. The big conspiracy to invade the Capitol building for the first time since 1812 or something. So what happened there? And we're going to get to that, but we got to go back a little bit further in time. As you know, if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, we've had a problem with an alien race called the Vril Dox. Now, some time ago, I mentioned that the thing that lived on Donald Trump's head, the President of the United States, had in the evening absconded and jumped on a plane and managed to switch places with the thing that lived on Boris Johnson's head, and vice versa. They just kind of switched out. And so Boris suddenly seemed a little more erratic due to the coronavirus kind of measuring him down. And then the Trump thingy, the switch, seemed to make him, for a short period of time, a little more reasonable. Well, that didn't last. It didn't last at all. And there was a reason for it. The reason they switched and jumped, it was all part of a large, harebrained conspiracy from the Vril Dox. Of course, the Vril Dox are hair-based life forms, and Donald Trump had been an ambassador for us and a host to one of their live forms, and he was kind of like an intermediary, and then he wound up getting elected President of the United States, and we thanked him for his service and such. But then, of course, he had the golf ball accident, which we thought caused some erratic behavior. It wasn't. It was a full-fledged invasion, and that just cannot stand. We can't have the people beyond the stars influencing what goes on here, except, of course, for the Anunnaki. All hail the Anunnaki. That's for the 2 or 3 that are still on the planet. Anyway, so yeah, what happened? Well, we found out through some random Reddit posts that there was in fact an invasion going on. And of course, we couldn't let that happen because we knew, once the Vril Dox get their little hair roots into things, they just never let go. So we had a war, and that's where I've been. I've been at war. It's been a long time. I've seen things. I've seen very hair-based, gruesome. It wasn't pleasant, but the reason you didn't notice it is because we suckered them into one of the outer dimensions. Now, of course, like I said, if you're a longtime viewer, you know that there are several outer dimensions, right? Think of it as a rainbow. We live in the green zone, and then the further out you go, the less stable there are. And of course, the Queen of England is ruler for most of these outer dimensions. Odin rules one, and then the rest of them are pretty much the queens, okay? And they're all kind of like a little more ephemeral. Huh? There's a word for you. Ephemeral, as opposed to the reality in which we live. Everything else is a little less real. And the transition of getting in there, you have to go through the Bermuda Triangle and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, just a long story short, we suckered them in. We did it. We suckered them in. We pulled them off to the Bermuda Triangle. We popped into the other dimensions, and that's where we fought our war. We did it. And you know me, I'm not a guy. If you remember the Reptilian Rebellion, you remember the Reptilian Rebellion? The Virginia earthquake, the Nevada earthquake. You remember all that? I don't know if anybody actually goes back and watches all these videos, but if you go all the way back there, you'll realize, hey, I was right there on the front lines. I don't lead from the back. I lead from the front. I'm right there in the middle of it. And but that's not how. No, that's not how this happened. I'll get to that. Anyway, so we were right there. We were going at it. There was this huge push. It took us through most of December. Things were kind of flimsy. We were expecting a certain event to happen, and it didn't happen until almost January 6th. And that's where all that kind of comes around, you see. So from like September to December, we were completely out of pocket. I was in a different dimension. Most of us were. Johnson was left behind because God knows what he would have done in the other dimensions. It's bad enough having him where reality is pretty much firm. You put him in some place where his thoughts and imaginations and emotions can influence something, and, you know, look out. So we left him behind, came back to a mess, but we knew, you know, it's Johnson. We're just gonna just have to deal with it. One thing at a time. Important things first. So off we go. Well, the main circuit of the invasion force that had come in through the satellites and been seen, got sucked into the Bermuda Triangle, off in the other dimension, they were still in contact with this dimension. And in this dimension, they were causing problems. And yeah, they rallied all those people up there into DC, and, you know, they sold them a bunch of lies about some sort of voter fraud or whatever. Some of them, I'm not saying all of them, some of them wearing some red hats, had the little, you know, a baseball cap has that little divot at the top there, mind control devices. They were taking direct orders from, and that's a good place to do it because, you know, they're hair based. So, you know, you're gonna put it right there, mind control devices. Anyway, right around January 5th, this place, not the outer dimensions, the event finally happened. We knew the signs, we saw it coming, whatever. Basically, the violet disappeared because, you know, it's unstable. Sometimes it'll pop in, sometimes it'll pop out. We were expecting a pop out. We suckered them into the violent spectrum of the outer dimensions, and then it went, boop, gone. We jumped back, you know, into the indigo section. Yeah, Roy GBF. Indigo section. Barely escaped ourselves, but now all the real docs, they're gone. They're gone. Just poof. Yeah, I mean, completely, I wouldn't say the whole species is wiped out. Obviously, there were a few people on this planet that stayed in this dimension. Obviously, the president couldn't go anywhere. He had to stay behind. Boris Johnson had to stay behind. So there's still some that are around. But the main invasion fleet, gone. You're welcome. Because, you know, that would have been awful if they had just rooted their way in and just gummed up everything with the hair. You ever had a clog, like in the shower, and you have to, and all that mess, it's just, it was bad. Let me just say, it was bad. Anyway, we did it. We suckered them in there. There's fighting, some ray guns, you know, the usual stuff, and then, whoop, gone. Of course, that meant that the people who were in the capital were leaderless, basically. They were trying to figure out what to do. They'd just been cut off from the main fleet. Some of them had, you know, already incited this huge movement and whatnot, and there were consequences for that. Obviously, the capital was breached, and horrible things happened, and yeah. But none of the people, ironically, none of the people who were actually in the capital were direct members of the Vril Docs or influenced by them. They were just traders. I mean, that's all. You know, traders going to trade. I mean, that's just all there is to it. They were kicked into gear. They thought something else was going to happen, and then whoop, gone. Now, had the Vril Docs been on this planet, yeah, that would have been bad. You would have seen the entire United States government overthrown. Very soon after that, the UK would have gone, and then France, and then Poland for some reason. Everybody has it out for Poland. I don't understand it, but they still, like, it would have been one of those domino situations, but nope, took care of it. So, yeah, you're welcome. Sorry about the mess while we were gone, but hey, literally the stakes were so high that the future of humanity, if we hadn't been there, it would have been hair-raisingly, catastrophic. So, anyway, that's what happened. Johnson, of course, he did his best while he was here. He was about the only one. I even took Laney over there because we needed some technological advice on how to phase things in and out. Maybe jumpstart the outer dimension phase. And anyway, it's going to be gone for like 40 years. 40 years. I wonder if that's their time or our time. Need to look into that because 40 years their time could be a couple of weeks. Yeah, Yeah, I got to look into that. But either way, if they come back, we'll take care of them then. Pretty much, you don't have to worry about it. Okay, we worried about it, so you don't have to. So that's the whole thing. I'm back. There's a new president, and he's going to disappoint everybody in completely different ways, and he's not going to listen to us because they never do. They say, "Oh yeah, we're going to listen to," and then they don't. They just don't. So I mean, that's what's going to happen. But we're still, we're playing a long-term game. That's what we in the Illuminati do. Long-term. Sometimes there's short-term problems. Yeah, I got this. Not in the other dimension. I was right there on the front lines. Never got a scratch. Nothing. Not so much as a hairline fracture. I'm sorry, I had to. A hairline fracture because, the real docs in there. Yeah, anyway, not so much as a scratch. I get back here. Joe and Jill invite me down to Washington. We're going to celebrate everything else. He's going to spill his whole deal about what he's going to do. We're headed up the steps to Air Force One, and I tripped and broke my arm. It's been a few weeks. I'm healing nicely, but yeah, it's not quite there yet. It's still a little tender. So the cast is off, but it's still, especially in the elbow area, I don't know. It's just Air Force One, man. What are you going to do? But anyway, yeah, so that's the update. And so, yeah, I'm back. We're going to, crack down on the stuff that we let slip past us while we were saving humanity. Now, come on, you got to give us a little leeway, because that's what happens. We save humanity. It's more important than a lot of other stuff that might happen, or how quickly you got your stimulus check. So, yeah, we're trying to keep everything together, and we're still going to have ramifications, I'm sure, because the real docs are going to want to know what happened to their fleet as soon as they get that information back at the home planet. But hey, I think we can handle it. I mean, we took out an entire fleet, and maybe it's just success talking or something like that. But I feel like we can handle it. I feel like we all can handle whatever's coming down the pike. I really do. I mean, I think we're coming to the end of the pandemic, which is good. We've survived another alien invasion. All hail the Anunnaki and blah, blah, blah. And all this kind of stuff. Now, who knows what's going to happen? The future is wide open. How is Biden going to screw it up? I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch. So we'll just have to wait and see. And just remember, we're in this together. We're hoping, the Illuminati that is hoping that mankind finally finds its place amongst the stars eventually. That's our birthright. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do. We were born here on this planet. We're supposed to seed ourselves to the stars. And in order to do that, we all have to come together. We all have to help each other along. And to that end, you can be part of this. If you'd like to be, you could leave a comment or some sort of thumbs up or something like that. I'm not sure. What does YouTube do anymore? Are there bells now? Do you hit bells or something? Or squares or I don't know. YouTube. Little U's? Are there U's now? I don't know. I've been out of pocket for a while. I don't really know. But that would be something you could do. You could just support us as we're going along. And something else you could do is, when you walk outside your house or your apartment, your tent, wherever you happen to dwell, you look up there in the sky and you see those chemtrails blazing. Why, we in the Illuminati suggest that you just relax and breathe deeply.